Hi there, it's Melissa and welcome back to my channel. Today I have another layout for the series I do with Danni Vee, which is the Unscrapped Bundle of Joy. And I decided to use this sketch from Christy of Christy's Beautiful Life. She's doing 30 days of sketches, and when I saw it, I knew it was just perfect to showcase some of the beautiful papers that I have left from my February hip kit. So I have been creating a lot with my February hip kit lately, and that's because I'm trying to kill it really quickly so I can get going on March, and then I know that April is on its way. So I had cut these papers ahead of time, and I'd cut them I think 1 inch too wide, so I've just gone back and trimmed them down to fit, and I think it was 2 by 3 with the size of the photos, so I just had to trim off 1 inch to get the papers to 2 inches wide. So I have 3 photos of Ava as a baby, obviously, because I'm scrapping Ava for the series, and it's her eating porridge. I did baby-led weaning with Ava. I didn't do it with the other 3 children, but it's basically where you don't feed them mush and you don't feed them with a spoon. And so you start them off on like really, I don't know, soft cooked foods that are finger foods, and they feed themselves. And this is porridge, and there is a spoon there because I was letting her use the spoon, and then of course Brielle had to use the spoon and feed her, and Ava let her. So one shocking thing for me, it's not really shocking but it is for me in this layout, is that I don't put a white border around my photos, and that's because I wanted to follow the sketch quite closely because I loved it in terms of paper placement, and if I'd put a white border on I would have had to trim my photos even narrower, which would have cut off a lot of the photo. So here I use my ruler just to just mark an area that I want everything to be contained within, and the sketch had stitching around the edge, and I will do that. It kind of implied machine stitching, but I'll be doing hand stitching. And of course I am distressing my edges because that's my thing at the moment. The papers that I'm predominantly using in this, well, they are actually the only papers that I'm using for this layout are from Pink Fresh, my favourite story. And Kelly, if you're watching, you had asked me to make a layout with that collection. I do add some Bloom Street when it comes to embellishing, but yeah, I don't actually have enough paper left to do a layout just with that collection, but I hope that this is kind of what you'd asked for. So I needed to add something else to the papers. I found them not plain because they're absolutely gorgeous, but I needed to add something to them. I did think about Brielle's in here, of course, because it's impossible to do anything without some form of child interrupting, isn't it, Brielle?
Hi.
Brielle says hi. So yeah, back to outlining. It needed something. Now this sketch, when it comes to embellishing, is, I won't say plain, it's quite simple. And I did think about just doing the embellishment as shown. And when I say the embellishment is shown, I don't mean sticking exactly to the shapes that the sketch shows, but to the area of embellishment, and that's definitely where I start. But then the layout takes a life of its own, and as you'll see, I add a lot more onto these pieces of paper. But I also didn't want to go overboard because I wanted to let these pieces of paper shine, because pattern paper is actually one of my favourite supplies for scrapbooking. So I did have a little issue with the placement of 2 pink pieces of paper side by side, although that one I'm using now is it's like a small repeating floral pattern on it, and the other one has a whole lot of houseplants on it. So even though they're both pink, I don't think it's a case of them being too much alike and next to each other. Now I did just have to redraw my lines there. I think it was a bit uneven in terms of the width, and then I did some chain stitch around the edge. I went with 2 lines of each colour, and that yellow gingham is honestly one of the most beautiful papers. I just love it. It's probably my favourite Pink Fresh paper in this kit. So I need to add a little something something, so I went with some purple. I don't think I gessoed the background of this. I've been clear gessoing most of my mixed media backgrounds lately. I wouldn't even call this mixed media because I'm only using one media form, which is watercolours. But I went with purple and a little bit of pink just to take the colour from that tag. That tag is from Paige Evans' Bloom Street, and I just adore that collection. I didn't realise how much I love that collection until I started playing with it. So I'm just adding my journaling on this tag. Yeah, I think I contemplated not distressing the edges of the tag, but then I couldn't help myself. So I've added some doodle twine in black and white stripe, and I love that little pop of black and white, and especially the black because it plays off the outlining on my papers. So I'd fussy cut this Paige Evans paper as well and hadn't used any of the pieces yet. Sometimes I find that if I want to do something creative but not make a whole layout, then if I just sit in front of the TV and fussy cut, then that satisfies my creative urges, I guess. So just trying to work out what I'm going to place where. That leaf with all the little leaves on it, it's one of those kind of papers or one of those patterns that's hard to fussy cut but so worth it when you do. And I'm really inspired by Sophie, who is so scrappy on Instagram. She designs for HipKit, and she is like the queen of fussy cutting flowers and then layering them back onto a layer, and absolutely gorgeous. So I'm placing some tiny little dimensional, Stampin' Up! Dimensionals on the top of those tulips, and I think on some of the smaller leaves and things as well. So at this point, this is when I decided to take the embellishment a bit further. As you can see, I've placed some of those flowers over on that pink piece of paper on the top left of the layout. Just playing around really, and I usually stop adding when it looks like it's enough. It could be quite easy just to keep going. So I'm using my fine liner pen, which is totally taken over as my favourite glue now. Rails here again. Mostly I love it because the fine liner is finally working for me, but also because it's really quick drying, which is great when you're working with placing a whole lot of fussy cut elements. So I did think about putting those flowers on that pink piece, but I've decided that there was enough pink up there, so I'm going with embellishing this area, and I think it plays well. It plays off the embellishing I've already done and helps sort of take your eye to the photos. And I love how I added that little leaf coming off the edge there. So I got the main kit, the paper add-on, and the Pocket Life kit. Normally I get the embellishment kit, but I really wanted the Bloom Street embellishments that came in this kit, and I think this beautiful little sticker sheet, it's got 4 pages, you can see it there, that would have come in the Pocket Life, and I'm so glad I got this because I love adding little bits and pieces to my layouts. Those stickers there, they are from the Noteworthy collection, and there's just so many on there. Sorry about that, I just had to help Ava with something, and I could see she was about to have a massive tanty if I didn't. So I'm adding my title, and I'm just using these little Noteworthy puffy stickers. I just love them. I love that they're all different colours. I didn't need a big title for this layout because I had enough going on already with all the floral embellishment. I'm hoping that these will stay in place without me adding any extra adhesive. I guess we'll have to wait and see. So the last thing I do is add some enamel dots, and then there is a bottle of Nuvo drops that comes in the kit. It's a pink, sort of a lilac-y kind of pinky colour, and it's a matte one, and it's really beautiful. And I just have to say, I know people love or hate Nuvo drops, and I absolutely love them, and I have to restrain myself because I just want all the colours. So that's my final layout. I hope you enjoyed watching my process. Make sure you head over to Danni's channel and watch hers. Her layout is absolutely stunning as always. And yeah, thank you for watching, and we'll be back again next month.